Where you work and who you work with matters. I'm Dr. Jim Dalton, President and CEO of Damar. We're dedicated to helping vulnerable kids and adults with disabilities. Right now, we're looking for tough people with big hearts, people who don't think twice about standing up for someone else, and who love seeing others grow and succeed. Is your job fulfilling emotionally, or are you just filling time? Learn more about open positions at damar.org.
Rob Kendall, Jim Merritt, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz. The program is Statehouse Happenings, your weekly look at what's going on with Indiana politics and government. Before we begin the program, let's meet our award-winning panel. You know him from 30 years in the Indiana Senate, Jim Merritt. Hello.
Robert.
And Abdul did that last week. I don't know if you heard that. He was in your exact spot, and that's how he kick-started the
That's
program.
my Jim Merritt impersonation.
Yes, and you know him as the owner and operator of IndyPolitics.org, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz. Hello.
Bill Cummins, bienvenue, welcome.
All right. Before we begin, let's thank some fine people that are continuing in our interim basis to make this program possible. IndyPolitics.org, your fabulous company, is housing the podcasting for us. You said it's been great for your numbers.
Yes, it has.
Well, you're welcome.
Excellent.
Yeah, welcome.
For the podcast, I don't make any money off of it, but it's been great for the podcast.
That's right. The only one getting rich off this is me.
And the lawyers.
And our friends at WYRZ who have allowed us very graciously to use their fine studios here in Brownsburg, 98.9 WYRZ.org. And hopefully very soon we're going to be in our new home with some new upgrades, and you're going to love Statehouse Happenings like you've never loved it before. Speaking of loving something like I have never loved it before, a new poll is out, and boy, is Mike Braun in big trouble according to this poll. Public policy polling is who did it. Now, Abdul, you have had interactions with these people. They're like a legitimate polling organization. They're not your mother's polling firm.
No, they tend to lean more Democratic as opposed to Christine Matthews tends to lean more Republican. But fundamentally, the methodology is the same regardless. It's the sample size, it's margin of error, it's when you did it, what was in the news that day. And I always tell people, polls are not predictions of elections, they're snapshots in time. And so this was a snapshot statewide today.
So these are real humans, though, right? Like we can say there is some validity to this organization.
Yes.
Okay, very good. And the results, now this was put together by the people that were the same people who did the poll a few months ago about Mike Braun's home county.
Yes, Du Bois County.
Yes, then these, look.
I say Dubois, but
how very worldly of you. These people are against the Mid-States Corridor,
yes.
Right? That is their deal, and I think we have to be very transparent about that.
And they're not the only people against the Mid-States Corridor.
Well, no, yes, we'll get to that in just a second. But yes, so the people who put this poll together are who funded the poll, who sanctioned the poll. They are the people who have been fighting the Mid-States Corridor project. Most people are probably aware of this, but the Mid-States Corridor project is this plan to connect 64 to 69 in southwest Indiana. It runs through multiple counties down there. However, Du Bois County is the sort of the big county being implicated. There is mass opposition to that in the area, and one of the really big oppositions is that the people down there kind of see it as something that would benefit Mike Braun's business, the distribution business, at the expense of everyone else.
Or they don't think they'll see a benefit of it at all.
Well, right.
Because the money had to be paid, the money would take away from local road funding, and only saved 2-3 minutes.
There's not a lot of perceived benefit for people other than the trucking and distribution industry.
Right.
Okay, so that's who we want to be totally transparent about this, because even though we like the results, we want to let people know who did the poll. However, they're not the pollster. They're just the person who paid for the poll to be done. All right, so Merritt, you were 30 years in the Indiana Senate. Before we get to these fabulous results that just made my week, did you ever put any stock in polling? Did you ever, you ran for public office numerous times? Were you looking at the polls? Were you paying attention to the polls?
Well, it depended if I came out good or not. When I look at
Sorry about that, Jim.
Yeah. 20 or 40 points behind running for mayor. I think you look at this situation in three different areas, three different viewpoints. One, the common citizen won't read that deeply into where this came from. It'll be just the idea that he's underwater. When the common citizen thinks, oh my God, he's really, really struggling. Now, the enthusiast, the political junkie, if you will, that individual, this is red meat.
We eat this up like crack cocaine.
Yeah.
Yes, and but then you look at it from Mike Braun's situation. He came into office. He wanted to reform government. In the meaning of change the status of government with secretarial cabinet, and he gets waylaid with almost a $500 million Medicaid expenditure that wasn't really seen before, and he believed that he had a sluggish economy. He gets hit with a buzzsaw of the property tax reform effort, and by the time the year 2025 was over, he was meeting with people like Abdul and saying, "Well, the best part of the year was actually changing government and making."
He was stretching.
He was stretching, and he really was, and so. But during that year, he's meeting with the really conservative right of the Republican Party at the residence. One of those was Senator Bray's, a primary opponent of a couple years ago, but he's still keeping his trying to make all 92 counties that he did as a U.S. senator, but there were no photos with mayors, no photos with legislators. He was going towards the small businesses.
Okay, so let's get to the top line of the poll, and that's what everybody cares about. It is Mike Braun, disapprove 53%, approve 22%, 25%, 22% not sure. So disapprove 53, approve 25, not sure 22. So public school math would tell me that puts him minus 27 points. Abdul, you and I talked yesterday, and I said, I don't know if he's that bad, but there's no way you could spin that and go, well, he's anywhere near being above water. You, on the other hand, think he could actually be that bad.
Yes, because here's the thing. When you look at those top line numbers, what was it? 23, 25%?
25 approve, 53 disapprove.
And what was the unsure?
22.
So when the people who don't know you are almost as much as the people who like you,
Yeah.
that's a warning. Now, please note, it is still 2025. It's a long way to 2026. It's still a long way to 2028. Anything can happen. Polls not predictions. They're snapshots in time. However, when you juxtapose this with a recent poll that was done last year, it's not looking good.
No.
Merritt, that is a majority, not a plurality. It's not like it's 40, 45 disapprove, 43 approve. I don't know how you would overcome.
Houston, we have a problem.
Right. I mean, I don't know how
this is in his neck of the woods.
Like, what are you going to do?
This
is the whole state.
These are statewide.
This is the whole state.
Okay.
So what, it was 554?
But they talk about specifically the mid-states.
They do, and we'll get to that in a second.
Nobody in Indianapolis knows what the mid-states actually is.
Right. This is I think that's the bigger problem, is the people who know him best hate him the most, and then everybody else is like, what'd you do for me?
Mm-hmm. Well, if you remember, President Clinton got waxed in a midterm.
94.
Yes, 1994. And what he did was he pivoted and he started talking about school uniforms. And all the little issues that make a big difference to people in their homes. And he decided, instead of having big tee shots, he was going to have putts. And little by little, President Clinton actually won re-election. And what happened, you have to do, is the fire alarm has to go off in the Braun administration, and this poll made it push the button. And what needs to happen is he needs to talk to mayors, he needs to talk to legislators, he needs to get into the grassroots. And not just go to the businesses or whatever, but he needs to go to the Rotary. He needs to go to the Lions. He needs to have pictures with legislators and make good friends there, because the relationship, as we know, is not there. He needs to get into...
What are you laughing at, Abdul?
He needs to get into the grassroots.
Well, here's the thing, Jim. Would you want your picture taken with a guy who's 25% approval rating?
Well, no.
And there you go.
Okay,
right.
so
and the budget session's a year away.
Yeah.
One of the problems he has and I found this when he was running in 24, and I went and they wanted me to endorse him. I went and met with him at state party. It was Josh Kelly was there, Micah was there. Josh Kelly's the chief of staff for Braun, and you're sitting there with this guy, and you're like, I got to work with this. Like he's almost like a Bond villain in the sense he doesn't connect. Like
He-
he doesn't. There's nothing like regular dude about
the
him.
lieutenant governor hasn't been helpful in
No,
2025.
well, I was going to get to him in a second.
Shouldn't expect you to endorse me. No, Mr. Walls, I expect you to die.
Well, I mean, like, it's like, what do you like? You can't send Braun out and go, hey, he's really going to clean up in this interview, or he's really going to clean up in this speech. There's just like he's a super rich guy. He comes off as very out of touch and aloof, and like I don't know how you. Now, it doesn't mean he's not going to win re-election because the Democrats are so bad. If the guy ran again, he may win a primary and he may win re-election. I just don't know how you recast this at this point.
Well, also, if you look, there was a national interview. I don't know if it was Fox or whatnot this last weekend, and I really didn't understand the answers that he was giving. It was very confusing to me. And
It's always very confusing.
yes,
He is, right?
yeah. Simple is best.
You've interviewed him many, many times. I'm just talking about personal conversations I've had. The problem with him is you ask him a basic question, and in a total politician fashion, he will spend 9 minutes answering, a 30-second question.
The old joke is, you ask him what time it is, he'll tell you how to
Yeah.
put a watch.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And so if you're Braun, your signature issue was a disaster last year, which was the property tax. The utility bills are still out of control. The IEDC stuff didn't get cleaned up at all. He just wiped his butt cheeks with that audit. There's no meaningful changes coming. And now you've got these uber pissed off Mid-States Corridor people who that's a broad region, and they also have a lot of money. These polls are not cheap to do.
Oh no,
No, they're not.
So,
No, they're not.
so now you've got hyper motivated people in your own backyard
Mhm.
with a lot of money,
Mhm.
Abdul. He's
you-
managed to
well,
alienate everyone.
Well, you're not gonna pull back up to the top overnight. You're gonna have to do it in small bites, and it has to start right now. And you just kind of wonder if the Braun administration really gets it. Do they know they're underwater?
I think there's a difference between knowing you're underwater and accepting the fact you're underwater. Like, hey, we can turn the ship around, we
Right.
can change everything. Well, okay, I get all that, but you do realize we are on the verge of a major shellacking
Yeah.
here, for lack of a better term. It is. If you go back about 20 years, Mitch Daniels had sort of the exact same
Yeah.
issue. In 2006, the Democrats took the House back
Mhm.
after a couple years, and Mitch Daniels at the time he was like only at 40%
Right.
approval rating.
But he wasn't going to go after incumbents in the
No.
primary
No, Mitch
for
Daniels
the
was like, okay,
legislature.
what Mitch Daniels did, which is why I love Mitch to death, was like, okay, we're going to sit with our principles. We're going to modify our message a little bit, make it do a
Yeah.
little more course correction. Next, 2008, it's him and Barack Obama win the state of Indiana.
Well, and one of the issues that Braun has, as you talked about, is he's alienated now a big portion of his General Assembly because of his redistricting stance, Jim. Like he declared now, like he always does, he backpedals out of stuff. He makes big declarations. He writes checks with his mouth that his actions won't cash. Now he's tried to kind of weasel his way out of that, but he angered a huge portion of the General Assembly over the redistricting thing.
Right, and as well as the fact that the May incumbents, if they don't all win, it'd be really surprising. It'd be a local situation if they didn't.
This guy's already dropped out.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Yeah.
guy was the guy who announced he was running against Senator Travis Holdman.
yeah.
Who ran because he was like, well, Trump tweeted about me. I guess I better do this.
And you know,
And
if,
then, and see, but here's the thing,
What strategy is that?
and Jim, not to cut you off here, but the one thing is, when I saw these primary challenges, like, I don't think these people realize how much work it is
Yeah.
in running a campaign, whether it's
Nobody knows that better than him.
yeah, even if you're an incumbent, it's a primary campaign or any campaign is like a brick wall. You've got to build it one brick at a time, and it's not easy running for reelection in a primary or a general. And with Governor Braun, with this poll news, are you going to go out and really campaign against people for in a primary situation that are supposed to help you next year?
And if you're gonna run against incumbents, okay, once like I said before, why is the incumbent bad, and why is the primary challenger why is the challenger good? And the thing is, you're gonna go try to convince people to vote for your guy because the incumbent voted against something that his constituents didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
That math just doesn't that math just doesn't compute here.
All right, let's talk about the other part of this. We touched on it earlier.
And by the way, listen to Statehouse Happenings.
Yes, thank you. That's my job. I will decide when the break is. You have indie politics. Okay. The other problem he has is normally your lieutenant governor is just sort of a teammate, right?
Absolutely.
And it really doesn't
for ever since 1860.
right, doesn't really oftentimes maybe help, it certainly doesn't hurt. His lieutenant governor is killing him.
Yes.
Micah Beckwith is killing him because he is as unpopular or more unpopular than Braun, and he goes out of his way to do things that deliberately piss people off and alienate people. And so if you're Braun, Mike has tried to be a good boy ever since he got compromised, but you've got to just look at this guy and go, you're not helping.
Yeah, when Mitch Daniels was governor, Becky Scrimmlin at times was out 13 nights in a row talking about the Daniels administration and at all the county fairs talking about the Daniels administration. That is not the case here, and it's hurting the Braun effort.
Yeah, Mike is in it for Micah.
Yeah.
And any disagreement that Becky would have with Mitch Daniels is always done behind closed doors, very privately. Governor, here's what I think maybe you should make an adjustment, because remember, the governor had the executive experience but didn't have the experience with the legislature.
Right.
And Becky was his liaison to the legislature. And usually you pick a lieutenant governor who compromises the skills or shores up the skills that you're maybe lacking or maybe a little bit short in.
And it took Mitch a minute to get used to the legislature, no question about it.
And that's the problem he's got, is you have a guy with zero experience in Micah Beckwith who was put in there by people who didn't trust Braun.
Mm-hmm.
This guy runs on, hey, I'm going to be like the voice of accountability. I'm going to be the voice of holding Braun accountable. Braun screwed all these things up. He's not holding him accountable on any of that.
Right.
And every headline he gets is just bad. And a bunch of it now is related to the church that he works at, where his best friend, his boss, and his podcast co-host son has now been convicted related to crimes against children.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your running mate.
Difficult situation.
My friends, welcome to Indiana politics in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Yay.
And most people would be probably surprised in looking at it right now that Governor Braun actually was a state representative and a U.S. senator. And when you become in those...
He's an outsider, Chip.
When you're in those spots, though, you understand how I would hope that you understand how the legislative mind thinks. But he thinks more like Donald Trump.
Is there any world in which he finally says, Josh Kelly, you've got to go? Josh Kelly's his chief of staff. The campaign they ran was a complete dumpster fire. They just won because McCormick and the Democrats were so bad. Rainwater imploded. And the legislature, the General Assembly stuff, the redistricting, property taxes, all this stuff has been a disaster. It's one bad thing after another. Look at this polling. At some point, don't you have to look at Josh Kelly and go, dude, thanks for all your help. This ain't working. We got to go somewhere else.
I think the phrase is so long and thanks for all the fish.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
As I know very well, we wish you the best in your future endeavors.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think what would be he better be better served with is, all right, we're going to take a complete different angle on this, a different direction, and this is what you're going to do, rather than change the person, because then you have a fall guy and it's all his fault, and that leaders just that is not a good look for leaders to cut off the head of the leader their administration.
And it's about to get worse after session's over, because my very reliable source are telling me to look for a bunch of cabinet folks is like, look, don't let the door hit us on the way out because we're out of here.
Well, that may be they may be the fault guy.
Yeah.
It's saying, I'm reshuffling the cabinet, whatnot, but Josh Kelly stays as chief of staff.
One of the most incredible journeys I've witnessed is seeing people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, including autism, get the care they deserve. It's life-changing. A not-for-profit started by families for families, Damar helps thousands in central Indiana live more joyful and independent lives. You can help bring hope to countless families in Indiana with a donation to support our work. Visit damar.org to learn more.
Rob Kendall, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz, Jim Merritt. Now it's time. The program is Statehouse Happenings, your weekly look at what's going on with Indiana politics and government. Again, a reminder, thanks to our friends at indypolitics.org for housing this award-winning program as we venture into our new forever home. Hopefully that will be next week. We're optimistic on that we'll have some new improvements to Statehouse Happenings beginning next week. And thanks to our friends at WYRZ 98.9, Hendricks County's hometown radio station, WYRZ.org. They have graciously allowed us to record the program here. This is where our program started, Jim.
Yes.
Right in this room.
Right in this room.
Right in this room.
My hair was darker.
That's right. And you hadn't ruined all your friendships by being friends with me. Anyway.
My friends would ruin all the.
Yeah, you're a mercenary.
Yes, I am.
You're like James Spader in The Blacklist.
Yep.
Yeah, you're just an arms dealer.
I'm Boba Fett.
Okay, let's talk about the Bears real quick because I wanted to make sure we got this today because as big as the Braun polling was, I think the Bears potentially has an even bigger ramification. So very, very quickly, the Bears are looking at going to Hammond, Indiana. The state legislature has put together and is fast-tracking this Northwest Indiana Stadium Authority, which would give the state the ability to buy land and build the stadium. And look, Lucas Oil, from a financial standpoint, Jim, and you were part of this.
I was.
It's a disaster. Now, look, you can say civic pride and you can't measure the finances of having a Super Bowl and Taylor Swift doing her last three and a blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying, if I'm still almost $500 million in debt on the stadium after 20 years and all these tax increases went to pay for it, and we were still paying off the old RCA Dome 12 years after we imploded the RCA Dome, I don't think that's working for me. But you were the person who, one of the people was there when the various tax increases for Lucas Oil Stadium were approved. Do you think Lucas Oil Stadium has worked out?
I do. I think it, for so many reasons, I think that so much has gone through there in the way of events, and it also creates a community.
Pay more taxes, and we still owe $500 million on the thing. I'm basically subsidizing these events.
And we thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
At least we're admitting
Thank you for
I'm
your money.
subsidizing some 16-year-old girl to go to the Taylor Swift concert.
You see, but it wasn't just Lucas Oil Stadium. It was more about the convention center than it was Lucas Oil Stadium. Because for Indianapolis to compete, because Indianapolis is in the convention business, you have to have the facilities to get it done. And that's sort of the same approach I talk about with the Stadium Convention Center up in Hammond. Because Tom McDermott, good friend, Tom and I have talked about this for a while. He's like, hey, Abdul, if we want to compete with Chicago, with with that area, we got to have a regional footprint, and that is their regional footprint. Now, the question is, are the Bears basically playing Indiana to get a better deal out of Chicago?
You're from Chicago. They're playing Indiana.
Of course they
right?
are.
They're playing. Okay.
Of course they are.
If they were not, like, you guys okay?
Yeah.
Are you guys sure you're out for Wisconsin?
They're not leaving Arlington Heights, are they? The Bears are going to Arlington Heights.
I do not see them at the end of the day leaving Arlington Heights.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to. If you look at the language of the agreement, for both sides, with the Bears and Indiana, if you will, you could drive a truck through it. If you think back, all the way back to when the Colts were in Baltimore, the reason why Irsay moved them here finally was Baltimore. The Commonwealth of Maryland tried to take over the Colts in the way of a government procedure. That is what the linchpin was for them to move here. If they hadn't done that, I would think that the Colts would have made a deal with Maryland and the city of Baltimore. Now here, with the idea of the Bears, the state of Indiana has sunk so much money into economic development in the region, with the double track and with the casinos and with
South
everything.
Shore.
Yeah, everything that is
it hasn't
going on.
worked.
Yeah,
It's not working.
and this is their shot with the Bears to get this done, and they may get it done, but I would think that the state of Illinois legislature is working very hard right now to compete.
And I would argue that Northwest Indiana actually is working because the people who can't afford to live in Chicago are tired of taxes and regulation.
Crown Point has a lot
they're
of
all-
Chicago residents.
They're all moving to
Valparaiso.
they're all moving to the region, so to speak. They'll drive to work. It's only 10, 20
Right,
minute
the
drive,
train.
then come back home.
Okay, so the
It's like if there was a rail from Brownsburg to Indianapolis.
oh yes, God bless. But here's the problem: Indianapolis is a commercial mega giant, right? Even when there's nothing going on at Lucas Oil Stadium, you have all these people who live here, they work here, they this, they that, right? There's the whole city of Indianapolis and the donut counties and everything else. There's continual commerce going on in central Indiana. Lucas Oil Stadium is a part of that footprint. You're proposing this become the footprint. All the people, or not all the people, but a lot of the people who are going to those games already live in Chicago. I don't care what sort of village you set up there. It ain't going to move people on a consistent basis from Chicago to Hammond, Indiana. So you're getting your 8 to 12 days a year where, yeah, okay, you'll have a huge commercial footprint. But other than that, nobody's going to Hammond, Indiana.
Well, it gives Indiana one more chance, or dozens of chances to say Indiana's the place to be. We have a low tax state. There are people in Chicago that moved to Crown Point, to Valparaiso, to Chesterton, and you can make it here, and it's just another opportunity. Now, when you look at Lucas Oil, that footprint is wonderful for central Indiana.
Right.
Living downtown, there are a lot of new apartments and whatnot, but we know the population has moved to the donut counties, but they're still Colts fans, and the Bears will have some residents move to Chicago or to Northwest Indiana because of the tax treatment, but the Bears themselves are not going to bring people to Indiana.
And the other thing too is think about this from a broader perspective. Indiana technically has 3 football teams: the Chicago Bears, or the Hammond Bears, or the Gary Toxic Avengers, whatever you want to call them. You have the Indianapolis Colts, and you have the Cincinnati Bengals.
Portage Bears.
Yeah.
The Cincinnati Bengals have a big following in Southeast Indiana, no question about it.
All right,
And the fact that I know this about football should frighten everybody.
Well, it's very
yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that people are looking at and going, okay, there's all these pressing issues, and you guys are slow as molasses on all this other stuff. But when it came to a stadium for the Bears, within, 3 or 4 weeks, hey, now we got a stadium authority. People look at this and go, come on, man, when it's helping the billionaires become bigger billionaires to help the millionaires play football, you guys move lickety-split, and you got the speaker and all this other stuff. I'd just like to be able to afford my electric bill, and that's going to take 7 years to figure out. You see why people get pissed off about that?
Of course, shiny object, and it's something to celebrate because
it's been bad news so far.
Yeah, in a short session that has really no pizzazz to it, it added a lot of a big shiny object for them to talk about, and maybe it'd be successful, maybe it won't, but it allowed them to have a bipartisan announcement with everybody talking about the great things about Indiana.
And here's the thing, too, to keep in mind. Look at where the session started with redistricting. People were mad at each other. Nobody wanted it. Caused a big fight. Now my level friends are all smiling with each other. Maybe temporarily.
Is it possible that not one person has raised their hand? Jim and I were talking about this before we got here, Abdul, today. I said, how is it possible that not one person on either party has raised their hand and is vocally like, hey, maybe we ought not be investing billions in a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Maybe we ought, because under the best of circumstances, it takes and we were going to do a whole show on the Bears until this Braun poll came out to go into all the tax increases, they're going to siphon money from the toll road. They're probably going to do additional tolling. Nobody's raised their hand. Maybe it would be best.
Devil in the details.
Here's the one thing that surprised me the most. When Americans for Prosperity went to testify at the House Ways and Means Committee hearing, the guy from Americans for Prosperity said, we're not in favor of it, but we don't oppose it. When Americans for Prosperity was neutral on this, I was like, okay, something's...
Yeah, they want good news. They want growth, and this has a potential of growth.
And by the way, we should point out before we go, you broke this story.
Yes,
that was you, right? You said the House, they were going to move this thing forward.
Did you think it was soccer when they said football?
There was no, I called you then, and I was like, dude, I'm seeing no Chicago media who's reporting this. I'm not seeing any internet chatter about this. There was supposed to be that Illinois General Assembly hearing on it the next day. And Abdul's like, it's happening, man. It's going down. You got it right. 100%.
Now I'm going to move on to the next big thing.
Yeah. All right. Jim Merritt, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Dr. Jim Dalton, President and CEO of Damar. Damar is a critical resource for thousands of people in central Indiana, and it takes people like you to give them hope. With over 1,300 employees and hundreds of volunteers, Damar is always looking for people to come aboard. Whether it's a career or simply donating your time, there's a place for you here at Damar. Learn more about our mission at damar.org.
Rob Kendall, Abdul-Hakim Shabazz, Jim Merritt. The program is Statehouse Happenings, your weekly look at what's going on with Indiana politics and government. Find Abdul on Twitter at ATTYAbdul, at ATTYAbdul, and be sure to bookmark his very fabulous website, indypolitics.org, indypolitics.org. Jim Merritt on Twitter at Jim_Merritt, at Jim_Merritt, and he has a podcast as well. It's great. Find it on Facebook and YouTube. Merritt in the Morning, YouTube and Facebook. Me, I'm on Twitter at Rob M. Kendall, at Rob M. Kendall. That's going to do it for us this week. We'll see you next time. For Jim Merritt, for Abdul-Hakim Shabazz, I'm Rob Kendall. You've been listening to Statehouse Happenings.